My name is Peter Ricq, author of Ghosts Are People Too, and you're listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. If you want to drop me a line, you can contact me at john@truenorthcountrycomics.com. On this episode, I chat with Peter Ricq about his book, Ghosts Are People Too, at the 2022 Montreal Comic Arts Festival. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It's also available on the True North Country Comics channel on YouTube. I invite you to like and subscribe. Peter is an award-winning creative professional based in Vancouver, British Columbia. In addition to his work as visual artist, he's also a television producer, writer, art director, designer, director, music composer, and performer. Even before completing his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Film Animation at Concordia University in Montreal, Peter was well on his way to creating a name for himself. In 2005, the artist and his partners sold their first animated TV series, The League of Super Evil, for YTV, CBBC, and Nick, which ushered him into his role as art director in 2007. Peter went on to co-create and several other animated series with his creative collaborator Phil Ivanuzik-Valley, including Oh No, It's an Alien Invasion for Teletoon ABC3 and Canal J, and Freakdown for Teletoon, Cartoon Network Asia, and Disney. Peter has released a graphic novel, Once Our Land, in 2016 to critical acclaim. His most current work is Ghosts Are People Too. The story of Ghosts Are People Too goes like this. Ethan Albee, for all intents and purposes, is a regular child with a family, a pet dog, a favorite pastime, and even a crush. Except he's a ghost. And as a ghost, there is one thing he would like to improve: understanding between ghosts and spooky living people. Drawing on the very root of storytelling, explain the unexplainable, Ethan describes situations that readers will recognize as regular activities for spooky living people, and be charmed with his interpretations of them. They will also wonder if it was their resident ghost who might have snapped their favorite toy in two, or changed the TV channel suddenly. And so, without further ado, here's my chat with Peter Ricq about his book Ghosts Are People Too at the 2022 Montreal Comic Arts Festival. So, Peter Ricq, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
My pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, too.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is great. So before we get started on all the big questions, I want to know what's on your bedside reading table. What are you reading today?
Right now, I'm actually reading the making of Star Wars on, because I've been traveling, so I've been carrying a gimbal, because my girlfriend, she bought me a bunch of Space Boy comics. It's a teenager comic for teens, and I really like it, because I'm maybe thinking of doing a teen comic. I actually read the first two ones, and she liked it too, and then for my birthday, she bought me like 5 issues of the next ones, but carrying that while traveling is just not fun, you know? It gets heavy. So I'm actually reading the Making of Star Wars one, which is I highly recommend. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, lots of good reading material there. That's for sure. That's for sure. So the reason why you're chatting is I understand you're an exhibitor at the Montreal Comic Arts Festival this year. So with that in mind, I'm wondering, do you have any past favorite convention moments that you can share?
Well, the reason I'm doing MCAF and TCAF this year is because before the pandemic, I did VanCAF, and I had such a nice experience. And compared to other like Comic-Cons, people are always there to not really support indie artists and new independent work or something they don't really know about. They're more into like Spider-Man and Batman, which is great. You know, I'm not upset about that, but I prefer independent artists, like new created worlds, world building, something fresh. And I find the artists there and the people attending there were more into what I've been doing in my space. And I had such a wonderful time there that I decided to do MCAF and TCAF as soon as the pandemic lifts. And so here I am.
Great. Oh, that's good. That's good. Can you talk about what you'll be exhibiting at the festival?
Yeah, so I'll be exhibiting Once Our Land 1, Once Our Land 2, which are my 2 first graphic novels, and then A King's Vengeance, which I released a year and a half ago, and then Scout Comics, my publisher, distributor, who did Once Our Land as well. they just released A King's Vengeance this year. So I'll be exhibiting that. And then I also did a kids book called Ghosts Are People Too that I also did a Kickstarter for and released it late last year.
And you say that was a Kickstarter children's book. Why did you do a children's book?
I know I had this idea of doing I think it's when I saw Edward Gorey's The Gaslight. What's like the ABC of Death kind of.
Okay, right. Mm-hmm.
I saw that book and I was thinking when I saw it, I was like, why didn't I do this? And I really like the drawings and I like how old it looked and I like the idea of a creepy kids book. I decided to do something a bit less morbid. Yeah, I just like to try new things and the idea just eventually popped in my head, like what my take would be, like what my version of this somber creepy kids book, which is also very friendly. It's a book for like 4 to 7-year-olds, you know?
Okay, sure. Yeah. Now, I may have asked you this question before, but I'm wondering what tools you use to create your art. I wonder if you could walk me through your process.
Sure. So Wonderland 1, I used paper and pen, pencil, ink, eraser, and then Wonderland, the second part of Wonderland 1 was sketches on paper. I folded 8.5 by 11, so they were smaller, and then I would scan them and redo it digitally. And then Wonderland 2 was completely done digitally, and then A King's Vengeance was done digitally, and because Wonderland 1 and 2 was taken way too long to do a page, so I got inspired by Mike Mignola and I think Adam McLean, and so I found a style that was way simpler, so it would take me 1/8 of the time, and so that was really cool. And then Ghosts Are People 2 is really small ink pens, and it's all like stippling and thick lines, so that was ink on illustration board.
So what satisfies you more, going digital or more traditional?
Well, it depends on the project, right? So for Ghosts Are People 2, I wanted it to have that really old feel, like you're reading an old ghost book. So I really wanted that to be more hands-on and inked, just like Edward Gorey. So I wanted to have that feel. But it's a lot faster and easier when traveling to use my computer, and it's just way faster too.
Well, when you're on the road, as you are now, do you have any electronic or digital devices to create now, or do you wait?
I have that really small Wacom tablet, the Intuos.
Mm-hmm.
They're only $100, and that's all I need. Like when I go, sometimes I go to the Best Buy or London Bugs, like where to buy those things, and they always try and upsell me to the really big one that are so expensive and not as portable, and the work isn't better if you have a bigger tablet or more expensive tablet. It all does the same thing. I mean, for me, it seems like it does the exact same thing. You just zoom into your Photoshop. Oh yeah, I use Photoshop all the time if you want to do smaller details. So
right,
yeah.
Right. Okay, good. Now we've talked about many projects that you have that are complete. I'm wondering, do you have any other up and coming projects that you can talk about?
Well, so Wonderland 1, we're releasing the proof of concept that we've done soon for the feature animated movie.
Wow, congrats. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. So that's with Mercury Filmworks. They're from Ottawa, and they do, the Hilda TV show based off the Hilda comics. So yeah, it's the company who did that, and I'm very, very happy with the outcome. They're such a good team. Probably the best studio that I've ever worked with. It was a real pleasure to work with, and you'll see the result when it's going to be released soon. So that, and then I have a couple other feature scripts that I'm thinking of doing a comic for. That's why I was researching teenager comics, because it's more like a family thing. Kind of think of Chris Miller and Phil Lord, from Lego Movie and The Mitches versus the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
What else do they do? They do
the Spider-Man.
Spider-Verse, yeah.
Yeah.
So they did. Those guys I really look up to them, and so the scripts I've done are more in that vein. and with a good positive message. So I'm thinking of doing a comic with that next. And also, if Once-Wonderland feature gets greenlit, I wanted to do a part 3 of the graphic novel.
Nice. Very good. Very good. Well, do you have a website where people can find out about your current and your future projects? Where do you recommend they go?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Prick. So my last name is Rick. So it's Peter Ricq, Prick. I'm not a prick. And I should have not used that, but it's too late.
Right.
So P-I-C-Q. It's a weird one. My dad's French, so it's a French name. P-R-I-C-Q. And then peterricq.com. You can see more stuff. There's a link to the Instagram to my website. Yeah.
Very good. Well, Peter, those are all the questions I have, but is there something I didn't ask you that you'd like to get across in this interview?
If you haven't watched it, which you probably have not, if you like Goonies and Night of the Living Dead, you might like a movie I directed and co-wrote with my friends. It's called Dead Shack, and it's on Shudder and other streaming services. If you like gore, kids swearing, yeah, you'll probably love it. If you don't like that, it's probably not your thing, and don't bother.
Thanks to Peter for the chat. You can discover more about Peter on Instagram at PRICQ and online at peterricq.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And please leave a good rating. Also check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website and follow along on Twitter at True North Comics. True North Country Comics is now on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. Please send your feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks again for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2022.